So one of the common complaints I'm hearing about the Switch at this moment in time is in terms of its launch day lineup. There's not enough games, even though you got Zelda Breath of the Wild, which will last you like a couple of months. Apparently, there's not enough games on launch day, and in terms of year one in general, there's just not enough games in that lineup. Well, I think these people need to realise that we don't know every single game in the year one lineup, because year one lasts from March until March next year. We don't know every single game that will be coming out in the year one of the Switch. We've got E3 for that, where they will announce new games, but I'm hearing a lot of people complaining at the launch of the Switch. I'm hearing a lot of people complaining at the launch lineup in general. So what I thought I would do in this video is look at the launch lineup for all of the other consoles out there. But before I do that, I'm hearing people saying that the Wii U's launch lineup was better than the Switch. Well, excuse me, but I don't think the Wii U had a brand new Zelda game day one. I don't think flipping the Wii U had Mario Kart year one. I don't think Wii U had Splatoon year one. I don't think the Wii U had a brand new Mario game in year one. It just missed out on year one. We got Super Mario 3D World round about just after into year two. So, yeah, the Switch's launch lineup, we're getting Zelda, we're getting flipping Arms, Splatoon 2, Mario Kart 8, Super Mario Odyssey, we're getting Fire Emblem Warriors, and we're getting Xenoblade Chronicles 2. That is just the games that we know of at this moment in time, and there may be even more. It's like the other day, we got the announcement that Fire Emblem will be coming out in 2018, so maybe that will be in the year one lineup as well. So I think these people need to realise that the launch for consoles in general are actually quite poor. And a lot of people have short memories when it comes to the PS4 and the Xbox One. People think that the PS4 came out with a blaze of glory and it came out with a strong lineup, and that just isn't the case. So let's just get into this video. Let's have a look at what will be coming out on launch day for the Switch, and let's compare that to the PS4 and its launch day lineup and the Xbox One and its launch day lineup. So on day one, the Switch will be getting 1-2 Switch, Just Dance 2017, Zelda Breath of the Wild and Skylanders Imaginators, and also The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus will be coming out on launch day as well. A lot of people are saying that is not enough. A lot of people saying that the Wii U's launch day lineup was better. Well, the Wii U had Nintendo Land, they had New Super Mario Bros. U, they had, third-party games which came out a couple of years before on the other platforms like Mass Effect 3, you had Batman Arkham Asylum, you had Darksiders 2, and you had many others that I'm forgetting from the top of my head, but you also had games that did come out at the same time on the other consoles as the Wii U, such as Black Ops 2, and you had Assassin's Creed 3 as well. So obviously the Wii U had more third-party games, but a lot of those third-party games were ports of old games, and obviously the Switch doesn't have many third-party games in general. All what it has at launch is Just Dance 2017 and Skylanders Imaginators, and they are old games. But I think Zelda Breath of the Wild just trumps everything that we had on launch day on the Wii U. I think it's better than Nintendo Land. It's better than Zombie U. It's better than, all of the games that were on launch day. And I'm hearing people saying, oh, Breath of the Wild, it don't flipping count because it's a port. It's a Wii U game essentially. It's a flipping port. Well, did you have that same mentality with the PS4 and the Xbox One? I bet you that you didn't. And this will open your eyes, because the PS4 and the Xbox One had a lot of flipping ports on launch day. I wonder if you picked up the PS4 on launch day. I wonder if you thought, oh my god, the PS4, it's got so many PS3 games. It's just full of ports. I wonder if you thought that. Or I wonder if you had a different frame of mind because it's a Sony console. It's not a Nintendo console. It's a Microsoft console. So the rule is different. The rule is different for Sony. The rule is different for Microsoft. But when it's Nintendo, suddenly ports matter. Suddenly ports count. Which makes me laugh because a lot of these people, when it came to these rumours, were hyping up these flipping ports. They're hyping up these Wii U ports in general. Oh my god, this is a great idea. This is a great idea because, the people that didn't pick up the Wii U on launch day, or didn't pick up the Wii U in general, there was only like 13 million people. These people could then go out and pick up Xenoblade Chronicles X, Super Mario Maker, flipping Mario Kart 8, Splatoon 1.5. But now that we know what the launch lineup is, now that we know, right, Zelda Breath of the Wild, I think technically that is a Switch game now, but some people see that as a Wii U port, and you got Mario Kart 8 as a Wii U port. Now suddenly, there's too many flipping ports. Well, where were you? I was complaining about that like when we first heard those rumours from Lord Kate Dale, and I'm pleased that a lot of those ports turned out not to be happening. Yeah, a lot of people have one rule for Nintendo, one rule for Sony, one rule for flipping Microsoft. A lot of people are flipping hypocrites. So let's just look at the PS4 launch lineup and let's compare that to the Switch launch lineup. So the PS4 had on launch day Angry Birds Star Wars, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, Battlefield 4, which arrived flipping broken. You couldn't play that for a good 6 months, maybe a good year. That online for that was broken. You had Blacklight Retribution, which was the beta or beta on the PSN. You had Call of Duty Ghosts, which was available on the PS3, as well as Battlefield 4 and Assassin's Creed Black Flag. You had Contrast, you had DC Universe Online, you have Dive Kick, you had FIFA 14, which again was available on the PS3. You had That Game Company, you had Injustice Gods Among Us Ultimate Edition, which again was technically a PS3 game. You had Just Dance 2014, which again was available on the PS3. You had Killzone Shadowfall, which was one of the exclusives for the PS4. But let's be honest, that doesn't stack up against Zelda Breath of the Wild. You can't compare Zelda Breath of the Wild to Killzone Shadowfall. And to the people that say, oh yeah, but Killzone, it's a good game. Are you still playing that game today? Are you still thinking about that game today in terms of the best PS4 games? No, you're not. I can guarantee you now that Zelda Breath of the Wild will be one of the games of the year this year. And the same goes for Super Mario Odyssey at the end of the year, which, a lot of people don't really think about in terms of that. And I would put Splatoon 2 up there as well as a potential game of the year, but a lot of people don't count that because, it's a flipping sequel. But how come that didn't matter when people were praising The Witcher 3 and Fallout 4? How come it doesn't matter for them, but with Splatoon 2, it's just a sequel? That's what I'm hearing from people like Eurogamer. So, yeah, let's just get back to the PS4 launch day lineup. So you got Killzone Shadowfall, which again, let's be honest, doesn't stack up well to Zelda Breath of the Wild. You got Knack, which was crap. I don't know how that game got a sequel, but yeah, Knack. Don't start comparing Knack to Zelda Breath of the Wild because you're just flipping stupid if you do try and do that. You got Lego Marvel Superheroes, which again was available on the PS3. You got Madden NFL 25, which again was available on the PS3. You had NBA 2K14, which again was available on the PS3. You had NBA Live 14, which again was available on the PS3. Need for Speed Rivals, I'm not sure if that was available on the PS3, but it probably was. You got Playroom, which was to take advantage of the PS camera, which I guess you could sort of compare that to, 1-2 switch. That is the PS4's 1-2 switch. You got Resogun, which actually was well received. It was probably one of the best games in the launch lineup. You got Skylander Swap Force, which again was available on the PS3. It's a common theme now. I'm like a broken record. I keep saying again it's on the PS3 just because it was. So you got Super Motherload, you got Trine 2, and you got Warframe, which was actually, I would say Warframe was probably the best game for the PS4 on launch day. So the people comparing that or complaining about, oh, ports, there's too many ports for the Switch. What about the PS4? You know what I mean? The PS4 launch day lineup was poor. Yes, it had quantity. What about the quality? And that's what people need to realise. Super Bomberman R, I'm not sure if I did mention that in terms of the launch games for the Switch, but that is a launch day game. Super Bomberman R, I would say, compares quite well to a lot of those games on that list. I would say maybe Resogun and Warframe probably trumps that. But in terms of Zelda Breath of the Wild, that game, not only will that game last you a couple of months, but that game is looking like one of the best games ever made. And this is coming from somebody that is not a Zelda fan. I've barely played Zelda in my life, and I realise that Zelda Breath of the Wild is something special. I realise that at the end of the year, Zelda Breath of the Wild should be in the Games of the Year list. It should be in that list right there. So, yeah, Zelda Breath of the Wild, it's in terms of the launch day lineup, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. And you're going to be playing Zelda Breath of the Wild well into the first year of the Switch. Seriously. So, yeah, let's just have a look at the Xbox One launch day lineup. So you got Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Again, it was available on the 360. You got Battlefield 4. You got Call of Duty Ghosts. You got Crimson Dragon. You got Dead Rising 3, which I would say, that exclusive there, which it was an exclusive for the Xbox One. I do believe Dead Rising 4 was actually multi-platform, but Dead Rising 3 was an Xbox One exclusive, and I would say that Dead Rising 3 was probably better than Killzone Shadowfall and Knack. But if you compare that to Zelda Breath of the Wild, is it better than Zelda Breath of the Wild? Questionable. Will it last you as long as Zelda Breath of the Wild? Definitely not. So, you got FIFA 14, you got Fighter Within, you got Forza Motorsport 5, which again, I would say is a better exclusive than what the PS4 got day one. And you got Just Dance 2014, you got Killer Instinct, which was an absolute mess of a game. How the fact that they charge for each individual character, and I think you still had to pay for the game as well. And it came with only like 3 or 4 characters, and then you had to pay for the rest. So, yeah, Killer Instinct don't really count for me. You got Lego Marvel Superheroes, you got Madden NFL, you got NBA 2K14, NBA Live 14, you got Need for Speed Rivals, you got Power Star Golf, you got Rise Son of Rome, which I would say is the Xbox One's The Order 1886. Or is it called the Order 1884? No, it's not called the Order 1884. It's called the Order 1886. It pretty much lasts you for about 4 hours, and that's the same case for Rise, Son of Rome. The game looks good, but you're only playing that for about 4 hours, and then you're done. You're finished. What are you going to do after that? And that game was a full-price game, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, you got Skylanders, and you got Xbox Fitness, and you got Zoo Tycoon, you got Zumba Fitness as well. So I would say that in terms of quantity, the Xbox One obviously has the better quality games in terms of, if you compare, Forza Motorsport and you compare, what was the other game that I forgot from the top of my head? Dead Rising 3, that was it. If you compare that to the Switch's launch lineup, then yeah, I would say, yeah, it's looking, a little bit Xbox One-sided. But Zelda Breath of the Wild, you know what I mean? That game just trumps everything from the Xbox One and the PS4. That game is looking something special. Like I keep saying, it's going to last you for a long, long time. But yeah, I think the Xbox One had a better launch lineup than the PS4. That's just my opinion. But I think because the Switch has got Zelda Breath of the Wild, and because that game will last you a good couple of months, it doesn't matter that the Switch, doesn't have that many games at launch. I keep saying this, but it's about the quality, not the quantity. So I think the Switch's launch lineup is better than the Xbox One and the PS4. Now let's compare the launch window. Now, IGN, which is where I'm getting these list of games from, they compared they basically saying that the launch window for the PS4 and Xbox One is from December to March. So that is a 4-month period. So I'm going to do the same for the Switch. So I'm going to compare it from April to August. So let's have a look at the launch window games for the Switch. So you got snipper clips, which are stupidly called sniper clips in the previous video, just because I was tired at the time. I only had about 3 hours sleep just because I was watching the Switch presentation the night before. You got Has Been Heroes, Fast RMX, I Am Setsuna, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, ARMS, Puyo Puyo Tetris, Rhyme, Disgaea 5, which I might have pronounced wrong. If I have, I must apologise. Splatoon 2, which would actually fall into that. There are rumours that Splatoon 2 will come out in August, and that just manages to get into the launch window if that rumour is true. And also you got ARMS potentially coming out on the 15th of April, so I'm going to talk about that in a minute. You got Red Out from Nicholas. You got Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2 as well. So they're the launch games for the Switch. So, or the launch window games, I should say. So you're coming from Zelda Breath of the Wild on launch day, and that game will last you well into May. Definitely will. That game will not, you will not complete that game in a week. If you are completing Zelda Breath of the Wild in a week, then you are playing that game wrong. So Zelda Breath of the Wild will definitely last you up until ARMS if it does come out on the 15th of April. And then you've got Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at the end of the month, which for Wii U owners is a questionable purchase. I can understand that. So yeah, I can understand Mario Kart 8, if you're not buying Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. But again, you got Zelda Breath of the Wild, which will last you up until May. And when probably you are ready for a brand new game, you got ARMS and Mario Kart 8 coming out. And that will last you up until E3. That will last you up until when we get announcements for brand new games. And who knows, maybe we will get a direct afterwards, after when the Switch launches, detailing games coming out from now up until E3. But I can't see that happening. I think the next presentation after the Switch will launch will be at E3. So I think Zelda Breath of the Wild, ARMS and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe will last you up until E3. So let's compare that to the PS4 launch window. So you got 1001 Spikes, you got Awesome Nuts Assemble, you got Basement Crawl, you got Counter Spy, you got Daylight, you got Deep Down, you got Doki Doki Universe, you got Drive Club, which doesn't really count just because that game was broken for about 6 months, if not a year. So you couldn't really play that game at all. So for me, you can scrap that from the launch window just because you couldn't play it. It arrived broken. So I'm sure some people disagree with me on that. Oh, but it does count because it was working like a year later. Well, no, it doesn't count because it didn't work in the launch window. So yeah, that's just how I see it. Drive Club didn't work in the launch window. It didn't work in year one, probably. Well, actually, it didn't work year one just because I don't think it worked until like December, if not January the following year. So, yeah, that game was flipping broken for a good 6-7 months. You got Escape Plan. You got that game company. You got you got AOW, I should say. You got Infamous Second Son, you got Mercenary Kings, you got Minecraft, which is scheduled to come out for the Switch, but we don't know when it will come out for the Switch. So you got Octodad, Deadliest Catch, you got Odd World, you got Outlast, and you got Pinball Arcade, you got Planet Side 2, you got Pool Nation Extreme, Primal Carnage, Putty Squad, Raise the Dead, The Witness, Thief, Tiny Brains, Translator, War Thunder, and you got Wolfenstein, The New Order. So I would say out of that, you got The Witness, you got Wolfenstein, which was it was a port of a PS3 game, if I'm not mistaken. Or it might have been a remake of Wolfenstein, I can't really remember. So you got The Witness, you got Outlast, I would say, Planet Side 2, and I would say that was probably, you got Minecraft in there as well. So, launch window, yeah, that's looking, you know, pretty, pretty strong for the PS4. You got Outlast, you got Planet Side 2, you got Wolfenstein, and you've got another game which I forgot from the top of my head. So you got Planet Side 2, you got Outlast, you got The Witness, and maybe Thief as well. So yeah, compare that to the Switch launch window. How you got ARMS, you got Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and you've got all of the other indie games like Redout, Fast RMX. So maybe that does compare well to the Switch's launch window. But also, maybe we don't know everything that will be coming out in the launch window, because like at E3, Nintendo could announce games for June, July and August. So yeah, we possibly don't know everything that will be coming out in the launch window. But yeah, I think the launch window for the Switch is good enough, just because, again, you got Zelda Breath of the Wild, which will last you for a good while, and you'll keep going back to that game. I know I will when, obviously when I get ARMS, I will play that, but then I will go back to Zelda Breath of the Wild probably. Well, not probably, I will go back to Zelda Breath of the Wild, and then I will play that game and play ARMS at the same time, and then I've got Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in there if I want to pick that up. But ARMS and Zelda Breath of the Wild will last me up until Splatoon 2, and there's no doubt that I think there will be games announced for June and July. I think that will happen, and August as well. So yeah, I think the Switch's launch lineup is, launch window lineup is, pretty decent. I think it is pretty decent, just because, how many other consoles had big heavy hitters like Zelda, Mario Kart, Splatoon, and a new IP such as ARMS. And, I think that is what people need to realise, that not many other consoles had big heavy hitters, especially from first party like that. So yeah, I think this Switch's launch window lineup is better than what people make it out to be. So let's just have a look at the Xbox One's launch window lineup, which was actually, I should say, it was actually pretty weak. So let's just have a look at the Xbox One's launch window. So you got Peggle 2, Project Spark, which was a terrible game, let's be honest. You got Titanfall, and you got Wolfenstein: A New Order, and that was it. That was it. So you got Kinect Sports Rivals, actually, Minecraft, Xbox One Edition, Peggle 2, Project Spark, Titanfall, and Wolfenstein. So I would say Minecraft, Titanfall, and Wolfenstein were the ones to go for in that list. It's pretty odd how the Xbox One had a better launch day, but the PS4 had a better launch window. And I would say that the Switch, it's got a decent launch window. It's definitely better than the Xbox One, and I would say it's just as good as the PS4. So yeah, I think people, they need to realise that consoles, they always take about a year to get going. It's like I didn't pick up the PS4 until July 2015, when we were getting games like GTA 5. We got games like Rocket League. We're getting games like Black Ops 3 and Star Wars Battlefront, which was one of the main reasons why I did pick up a PS4 at July 2015, just because I thought those games would be better than what they were. I've tried the Black Ops 3 beta. It was terrible. Didn't end up picking up that game. And Battlefront was terrible. So, you got other games in there as well. So the PS4 was starting to kick off around about, I would say, summer 2015. And maybe a bit before that, maybe 2015 in general. But I'll definitely say, it took the PS4 a good year to get going. And what people forget is that the PS4 had a lot of broken games in there. I'm sure I am forgetting a few, but Battlefield 4 and Drive Club are the ones that spring to mind. So the PS4 took a while to get going. The Xbox One took a while to get going as well. Some may say that it still hasn't got going, which I don't necessarily agree with. So, yeah, I think the Switch and its year one lineup, which again, I keep saying this just because people are thick. People really are thick, and they think what we're seeing in year one is what we're only going to be getting from March until March. What we're seeing right now is the only games that we will be getting. But I can guarantee you now that E3 we will learn more games in the year one lineup and possibly in the launch window as well. But we will definitely learn more games coming out in from E3 up until March. We definitely will learn about more games coming out then. So the launch lineup I think is better than what some people make it out to be. If you're not interested in Breath of the Wild, which I don't understand why you aren't, because that game is looking something special. But if you want, if you don't, if you're not interested in Breath of the Wild, then yeah, maybe I can understand that. But then again, you got games like Super Bomberman R, you got games like The Binding of Isaac, you got games like Redout, Fast RMX, Arms, you got Splatoon 2, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which will be coming out in the launch window. If not, in terms of The Binding of Isaac, that will be coming out on launch day. So there are other games out there than Zelda Breath of the Wild, but for a lot of people, Zelda Breath of the Wild is the only compelling game on launch day. And people need to realise that this game is going to be huge. Not in terms of how well it's going to sell, but in terms of how long it's going to take you to fully get into that game. It's going to take you a good couple of months. That game alone will probably last you until E3, but you got games in there like Arms, which I'm going to stop playing Zelda for a bit to play Arms. And then you got Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in there as well. So I don't think the launch day, obviously the launch day, you don't have that many games in there, but it's about the quality. It's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. And how many of those PS4 games that came out in the launch day and launch window are you still playing? I bet not many. And with, Mario Kart 8, Splatoon 2, Arms, you're still going to be playing those games throughout the rest of the generation. Oh, that's because the Switch will barely get any games throughout the rest of the generation. Well, sorry mate, you're an idiot. Because we don't know what's coming out at the end of 2017 apart from Mario Odyssey, Xenoblade 2 and Fire Emblem Warriors. We don't know what's coming out at the start of 2018. We don't know what's coming out in 2018. We don't know what's coming out in 2019. And we certainly don't know what's coming out in 2020. So how can you possibly say that these are the only compelling games that the Switch will get in its generation? And the reason why you're going to be playing these games throughout the whole generation is not down to the fact that these games are actually quality games. It's down to the fact that the Switch will not be getting any quality games at all in 2018, 2019 and 2020. Well, I'm sorry, but if you're thinking like that, then you are an absolute clown. And that's just how I want to end this video, because I don't want to talk to clowns any further, just because it's clear that you can explain something in the clearest possible way, but these clowns will still feel, oh, the PS4 had a better launch day, it had a better launch window. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. Stop kidding yourself. So, yeah, the launch day and the launch window in general is not as bad as what people make it out to be. So, that is it. Can't believe this video has gone on for this long, but I think this video was needed. I really, really do, because I'm seeing a lot of people on the PS4 and the Xbox One side. They're saying, oh my god, the Switch has a terrible year one. But hang on for 1 second. What about the PS4 and the Xbox One? Did you say that for those consoles? Of course you didn't, because it's Sony and because it's Microsoft, and automatically they have a different rule set for consoles, and Nintendo has a totally different rule set altogether. People expected Metroid, Animal Crossing, F-Zero, Star Fox, Star Tropics, flipping I can't really remember. People expected every single first-party Nintendo game to come out in year one, which I can understand to a degree. People expected Nintendo to go full out in year one just because we did have a little bit of a drought in year one. But if Nintendo didn't space out their IPs, then the same people complaining at the lack of games in year one will complain about the lack of games in 2018, 2019 and 2020 because we had every single first party game in year one. So these people are fake, these people are idiots, and yeah, I think this video was needed. I'm happy with the year one lineup, I really am. And yeah, that's just it for this video. I'm going to talk about the doom and gloom culture and the negativity surrounding the Switch on my channel soon. But for this video, that is it for this one. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.